As a little deaf girl, I grew up in Lenasia. I had a lot of barriers to information, and therefore apartheid was one word I didn't understand. My parents didn't explain what it meant, because their main focus was to help me improve my speech and reading. I will now share the few memories I have from the past during apartheid.
I was born and grew up in a beautiful area. The streets, trees, and houses were beautiful and peaceful. As I grew older, I didn't question anything, as I thought everything is how it should be. Everyone around me was white. The people who greeted me on the streets, in cars and bicycles, were white. Everyone walking outside and in shopping areas was white. I didn't question anything.
My family went to Magaliesburg for holiday, and we were very excited. When we arrived, my cousin and I dived into the swimming pool. The white children in the pool instantly jumped out, and we were shocked.
I grew up and had to attend a school of the deaf with only white people. I didn't question anything. I passed and went to the next grade. I was shocked to discover I had to sit near and share a desk with an Indian boy. When I didn't understand what the teacher was saying, I would ask him, and he would help me. He was unbelievably clever. I liked him because he was warm and a good friend. At 2 o'clock, when the bell rang, he would disappear. I wanted to chat with him after school, but he had already left. The white learners would stay, but the Indian boy would disappear.
I remember when I was a year old, I would go for speech therapy at Wits. We would get a taxi from Lens to Elof Street in town, and from there we would use a bus. The buses looked different, and I knew the color of our bus, which went to Braamfontein. I ran to the bus, and the man stood in front of me and said, "No," even though this was the bus that went to Braamfontein. My mother apologized to the man and explained that I was deaf. The man was surprised.
My mother and father were watching TV with me, and we saw people throwing stones, the police shooting, yellow vans driving through, and things exploding. It was black people, angry and marching, and I wondered why. I thought this was happening in another country, because I had not seen or heard of any violence around me. On TV, problems were screened. I asked my mother what was happening, and she told me not to worry.
My mother and I were walking in town, and I urgently needed the toilet. I saw the sign "toilet" and ran towards it, but my mother held me back. I remember seeing signs saying "whites only." I thought this referred to white as a color, not a race. I didn't understand. My mother would get upset and tell me to use another toilet, and I still didn't understand.
Our domestic worker, Mary, was always cautious when she came to our house. She would enter and discuss the chores with my mother. I expected her to come outside sometimes, but she was always inside. I didn't know why she couldn't come outside. It was always as if she were hiding. She did the ironing and washing. She was a lovely lady. My mother was always worried about the time. She would first check outside, then she would fetch the car. Mary would run down the stairs and lie down on the back seat. Then we would leave to drop her off.
In 1990, I was about to start grade 3. My parents wanted me to attend a good school because I'm deaf. We found a good school, but they couldn't accept me because of the color of my skin.
When I was a bit older, my mother and I were watching TV, and there were still problems. Black people were throwing stones. The police were shooting. I was watching the violence, but wasn't worried because it looked like a movie. I didn't believe this was actually happening in South Africa. I asked my mother, and she told me to wait. I still didn't understand. My mother was reading the newspaper. On the front was a drawn picture of a man. My mother carried on reading, and I realized the people on TV were black, and so was the man on the front page. I asked my mother, but she couldn't sign, so I got no information. There was a communication barrier because I'm deaf. She didn't sign clearly. She said the man in the newspaper was a leader fighting against apartheid. Black and white people should not be separated. I didn't know what apartheid meant. My mother explained that the man was Mandela, and he was a leader of the ANC who wanted unity. People were angry because they wanted him to be free. I then realized something was wrong. I approached my mother and asked her again, "Do you mean Mandela is fighting for unity and freedom?" She said yes. I came to realize more about the separation.
In 1990, a tall, broad man was on TV, but I didn't know who he was. Everyone was cheering and rejoicing for his release. I didn't understand what was going on, but joined in celebration. I just copied what they were doing, like many deaf people would do.
After 27 years of being in prison, Mandela was free. He was released in Cape Town, and his face was not like the picture. He had a round, sweet face and was very tall. He had a fist up, and I had shivers all over my skin. Black people were rejoicing.
I then realized what apartheid meant and how bad everything was. I didn't know what was happening because I'm deaf and people battled to explain. I was happy because I realized that freedom means access to opportunities, being able to go shopping freely, etc.
The problems had died down. In 1994, it was time to vote, and I went with my parents. We walked to the voting stations, and many were going to vote for the ANC. There were black and white people behind and in front of us. The black person behind me was friendly. Even though I didn't fully understand, I was noticing more black people now. We all waited in extremely long lines to vote. I could see that things were about to change. I was clueless before, but now my awareness was growing. I already knew a bit about what was happening. When we heard the ANC had won, I knew that things would definitely change. Everyone would be united, and there wouldn't be any separation. I understood everything at a late age because everything was explained to me late. The ANC had won and the NP had lost. I was a bit worried about what would happen next because I was white, but I knew that I had to honor Mandela because he had spent 27 years in prison. He suffered and didn't want revenge after his release.
And say, so help me God.
So help me God.
I'm happy now because we have the opportunity to be a rainbow nation and we are free. I'm deaf and proud. United, we can all make South Africa a success.